Sorry. This is
Yeah.
this I'm not used to this mic. My other mic unmutes automatically. But thank you. Welcome to another live stream and episode of HEA News. And today we have our NEA-Dallas. If you don't know, and I'm gonna do a shameless plug right now. NEA-Dallas, if you work in the Dallas area, you are a retired teacher or an active professional. We have a local in Dallas that you can join. You can go to mytsta.org. And if you are not in a union or do not have representation, you can always join HEA, the Houston Education Association, and Houston ISD, or if you're in another school district, you can join at mytsta.org. So I'm going to let Diane go ahead and introduce herself. You all know who I am. If you don't, I'm Michelle Williams, the president of the Houston Education Association. And Diane, go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Diane Birdwell. I am smiling all the time because I retired back in July. So this is my first year off in 25 years. I worked in Dallas School District for 25 years. I joined back when we were classroom teachers of Dallas with TSTA. So I've been in the union 26 years. Now I'm in the retired section of it, the TSTA retired version. Been politically active. I was our executive vice president for a couple of years, the number two person. The reason why I got to know Michelle is because y'all have been cursed with Mike Mock, the way we were cursed with him. The difference is, and I frustrated the heck out of Michelle trying to tell her what to do. She's like, I got this. And I'm like, no, you don't. This guy, he's a snake oil salesman. He's a grifter. And I tried to, give all of y'all as many warnings as I can. And she listened. And y'all have your own situation that's different with the board that you can't elect. But we've been pushing for y'all up here in Dallas. Supporting y'all and pushing y'all to push back on him and everything he does. And this is his second year with y'all, I believe.
Yes.
So now you're starting to see how he slowly but surely turns the screws on everything. And when he was in Dallas, he did it almost all of it at once. And because of that, and we were warning y'all, he didn't do that in Houston. He saw us giving y'all advice for NEA, giving advice for AFT, and he backed off on a little bit. But now he's starting to put the screws to y'all with your performance evaluation and things like that. And so Michelle and I have talked offline many a time, texted, seen each other at meetings, and this is what he does. He will get his bonus at your expense and at the expense of the kids. Because at the end of the day, for the outsider, for the politician, the only thing that matters are test scores and graduation rates. They don't care how you get there. They don't care what cheating goes on. To be honest, they don't care what limiting of scope of the education the kids get. They don't care about the stress on the employees, the teachers, the counselors, even the cafeteria ladies. They don't care. As long as they look good and they show improvement and growth, you suffer the consequences, they get the bonuses and move on. And so we're there with you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we have been seeing with just this current round. I was in home jail at the end of last year. So I did not end the school year. So I knew some of the stuff that was going on, but this year I am back in the classroom and I actually see it firsthand about what's going on. Let me move up with the teachers. And it's really interesting because just recently, and I don't have the article pulled up, they said they had a mistake
Yes.
with the evaluations and people were being terminated, and it was an inflation. And my question was, how's that an inflation on a spreadsheet when there's only two components? And I teach math, so I understand numbers. And it's a scale factor of 65%, 0.65. All you're doing is multiplying it. Like, where's that error at? Please show me. And like I've talked spoken with a person who received that, and this person was exemplary in the student achievement and proficient too, almost exemplary in the high quality instruction part. So how do you inflate that? So I'm just trying to figure out, and please make it make sense. But my feeling, like I told them when it came out, I said, yeah, that's not true. They were doing something else and trying to cover up something. I don't know what it was, but I don't trust them. And everything they have brought out has, yeah, not true.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know what y'all's instrument looks like exactly, but it sounds very similar to what he did with us. I'll be honest, he's smart in that Mike Miles will adjust things that we complained about. TSPA
Exactly.
teachers, both unions, because I always give credit where credit is due, but both unions sued. I was part of our TSPA class action suit against what we called TEI, Teacher Excellence Initiative. I don't know what y'all, I think it's NES for y'all. And then he
It's
calls it,
TES, Teacher Excellence System.
there you go. He's got to come up with something. And the problem we had, and that we were able to show, was that he kept telling the public and everyone that it was a bell curve. Okay. And I'm talking to a math teacher, so I get intimidated. In Everyone knows, you have a few at the very bottom, very least amount on the left scale. And then you have people moving up and then across. And then again, on the right end, you have people there. So it's a bell curve. Like if we were to get everyone, it looks like we have 65 people here on tonight. So if we all started running, there might be, and we're all in the same roughly age group or physical fitness, we'd have a bell curve probably. But this is not a bell curve. We were able to show that it was an unfair, biased system, but we weren't able to prove damage. That's the key, because we were so early in the system. He was able to successfully defend, or DISD was, that, well, you've only been under the system for a year or two. You can't possibly defend your ranking because of that. So what we saw after 13 years of it is that it's not a bell curve. Y'all need to start using this term: forced distribution.
Yeah.
Forced distribution system. They create a bell curve that's false. And
Correct.
how many teachers do y'all have in the district?
Over 10,000.
Okay, because we had, well, almost 15,000, and it shrunk, over time, but we lost 5,000 teachers under him in 3 years. But let's just go with 10,000 at the extreme end, because that's what DISD has. On the exemplary, the $95,000 a year that they brag about to the media. After 13 years, we had less than 40 people, I think, make it. So if Mike Morath, who was a school board member up here, said, "Oh, we're going to have an excellent teacher in every classroom, kids' achievement's going to be off the charts, and you will be compensated for that." Well, here's the thing: if every teacher here, all 72 of y'all are excellent teachers, then all 72 of y'all should be getting the same pay. Get it?
Correct. Hmm.
This system, only 4 of y'all will get it. The rest of y'all will get proficient, 3, 2, 1, and then down to the bottom. And the lowest in your class of teachers will be considered unsatisfactory or probation, whatever. And so what happened was, as teachers were figuring out, and this is the other thing I want y'all to know: play the game, do what they say, I would shut my door at AP and regular world history. I would shut the door and teach my way. But when an administrator would come in, I taught my students how to play the game. I'm just going to be that honest with you. We're going to do the DOL, the learning objective, and the, all that stuff. And when they weren't in the room, there you go. We're going to actually not waste time with it. I would say, well, we didn't get a chance to get to it. So that was, well, I would say, and the other issue with that was that as we got better and better, more of us should have been making more money. So they moved the goalpost. Y'all need to keep your sheet that shows you what you scored on the continuum, who's, how many points you have. Is that how y'all are doing it, Michelle? How many points you get determines where you fall?
Yeah.
Okay. So for us, I think maximum at one point was like 100, and then they extended it to 120 and all that. They just kept moving the goalpost. Instead of 100 yards on a football field, now it was 110. And instead of, it was just, instead of first down at 10 yards, it was 12 yards. They kept extending it because here's where the trap was. And it took us a couple of years to figure it out. When does the Houston ISD school board vote on your next year's budget?
This year in June.
Okay, that's what Dallas does. How are they going to know how much to pay all of you on how well you do
Not until
at
the
the
next year, like you all.
this year? If this makes sense, I'm not trying to talk down to anybody, but I'm going to break it down very basic because it took us a couple of years to figure out what they were doing. They have a budget they have to, and it has to balance. Okay, so they're $900 salaries. But what if so many of you guys in Houston go above and beyond and it busts the pay? They can't pay y'all all that. So what they do at the end of next year or the end of this year over the summer, when they see, oh my God, all these teachers were fantastic, they're going to do two things. They're going to move the goalposts. Okay. They're going to shift that points. And then they're going to tell their principals, which is why I like how the NEA-TSTA allows principals in the meetings in the union. They're going to tell y'all to downgrade people in their evaluations. We had 3 points was a maximum for each field. What about y'all?
I don't know because that's the stuff that they hide from us. So that's why we filed an association grievance against Mike Miles, the board of managers, because they are violating the consultation policy that they put in place. So we have not been in talks with the district or communication because he's mad because the bond failed. Well, I'm sorry, the people in Houston didn't want to give you their money for you to mismanage. We had nothing to do with that. And a lot of the teachers are constituents and taxpayers. So they have a right to vote against you. So he's upset and he said it publicly. It's on record. The Houston Chronicle reposted it and put quotations because it came out of his mouth, and he doesn't want to meet with us. And that's what the first grievance is about, because this board of managers put it in place that he has to meet with us quarterly, 4 times a year, and he does not want to do that.
Well,
So
here's what I'm talking about though, is when you're in the classroom and they come in for a spot observation, 15 minutes, they're going to say that Michelle was able to walk around the room. She made sure that she had all the kids participate. 90% or above the kids were participating in class. That's a 3. You get 0, 1, 2, or 3.
no, we've changed it because you all didn't have T-tests. So this is mirroring
Okay.
T-tests.
Well, let me use mine as the example. 3 would be your maximum. Diane does a great job. She's talking to every single kid. There you go. Too many of us were doing a good job, so they shifted it. But then they told the principals, Well, Diane has, and I proved wrong on, I proved them on this. They gave me a 2 for engagement because I had 2 students who were off task out of 30. And I said, okay, and own definition in the rubric, it says 90% of the students are on task. Well, do the math teacher. What's 90% of kids?
90% of how many?
30.
Oh, okay. So 100% of 30 is 3.
No, 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 it's
I
30.
mean,
It's
not
27,
90%. So I'm gonna go from a
30.
hundred. Well, 10% of 10 is 1.
No, no, no.
So no, I'm going from the way because I don't have a calculator. So I got to
No,
break it down in my mind.
if 90% of the kids are on task, that's 27 out of 30. I
Yes.
had
So
two,
I said 3. Okay. 27
I
minus the 3, 27.
could have had 3 and I should have still gotten my 3. They gave me a 2 because, well, it's hard to describe. I said, well, then here's what you need to look at. Look at your review, at your observations features. Do they quantify what is, and this is how I prove them, and I got my numbers changed upward. It should say all or nearly all students are on task. And I said, define, and I went before the school board. Tell me what is nearly all. Let's just go. And I said, let's go with 90%. That's nearly all. Okay. That means I could have had up to 3 kids off task and I still should have gotten a 3. I had only 2 off task and I still got a 2 on my score out of 3 points. So y'all need to learn how to advocate in your rebuttals. You need to make sure that you train your principals. That's why you need active people in the building, and whatever training they send y'all to. Do y'all have a rep in each building for the district, for the school, that goes to the training for the system?
Well, they have the trailblazers that go and but as far as a person that goes, no, because it's a total mess in HISD. It is. Like we none of the stuff that and like you said, it changes. So you might hear one thing one day and then it's different the next day. And then I work at a school that's not NES and then the NES people hear different things. So it's a total nightmare because we're not the information is not uniform across the district. And then you have experienced principals versus his people who he's brought in that know nothing. And even did y'all have IRT walks, people that came in and evaluated the school and the
Yeah.
principal got ratings?
Yeah, well, he did this horrible thing, and we got him to stop because we publicized it so much online. He would bring in people from other principals, and especially training principals, new ones, bless their hearts, from other campuses to come in. And so we'd have 6 to 8 people walk into my room while I'm trying to teach, and they're bending down and asking my students, so what's the DOL going to be? What's the learning? What are you learning right now? And basically interrupting the class. And the way I got them to stop doing that was I would say, well, Principal Williams and your guest guys, let you know this is our superintendent and his crew, and they're going to be asking you questions. Just answer quietly while I try to continue to teach. And I would put them on the spot, or I would say, Superintendent Miles, what do you think about this? Do you really think the French Revolution led to the uh, revolution or not? What aspects from your military history? And I would put them on the spot and they stopped coming to my room. And so that was a protection. But one of the things they will do, you've got to be able to get them to quantify everything so that you can back yourself. If they say, well, you had 2 kids off task, okay, what does that mean? If they said it's not rigorous enough, then you ask them in your rebuttal with your department chair and your what do you call it, instructional coach, if you have one, show me how to upgrade, to up level my instruction. Show me. I'll have you come in and teach one of my for me, or show, here's the exercise I did. Tell me with reading how you would have improved that lesson. and put them on the spot, because what they're trying to do is downgrade your evaluation so they don't pay you as much, so they stay within. That's all they're doing, guys, and that will come at your expense, I guarantee you. If we had stayed on the old system, if you're a senior teacher like I was, where you get incremental increases the way cops do, soldiers do, sailors do, firefighters do, based on years of service, I literally ripped off of about five to $10,000 a year the last 8 years of my career, and that impacts your retirement too. So make sure you stay active, you keep documenting, you print off every email related to any evaluation, because if they put you on administrative leave, they can lock you out of the system in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Lock you out. So make sure you have printed any email you send to them, as long as it doesn't have a student specific name in it. Um, your home. You need to cover your ass on every single thing that happens to you. If they tell you something in the hallway, the assistant principal says, Diane, I need to see more group work from you with your kids. Okay, sir, I get it. I come back in a week or so, I send them an email. As per our conversation in the hallway on Monday, I'm going to be having a group work activity on next Wednesday. Can you please come to my classes first, third, and fourth and observe me at that time so you can tell me how I'm doing? That way, you put them on the spot, but in a good way. You're actually helping out. You want your administrators to be your buddy. He tries to make it adversarial. I'll be honest, AFT does the same thing. But NEA and TSTA, we believe that the principals on the campus should be your biggest supporters. And it's going to be hard for them in this system with Houston and Miles, but you've got to make them be as close to your ally as you can. But remember, at all costs, it's your job, it's your career.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're having issues with because he's driven out most of the experienced teachers. And one of the things that I did hear you say is that they need to rebuttal. That's the issue that we're having. And I'm just speaking from what I know dealing with our members. Teachers are waiting too late
Yes.
you with and I keep trying to tell them that you can't wait. A lot of them are scared of retaliation. They're going to retaliate anyway. They're going to their goal is to terminate you. They're, like you said, their goal is to downgrade you on your evaluation. I can't get teachers in Houston to understand this enough to actually get this through to them. Like, this is your career. This is what is going into your personnel file. And once you leave or are terminated from HISD, you can't return ever.
Well,
So,
if they're under his regime, yeah, some
no,
people can't.
that's in our policy. That was there
Oh,
before he came. That's the policy of HISD. Once
oh
you're
well.
terminated from district, you can't return.
Well, it depends on what you were terminated for. If it was a reduction in force, or if it was, insufficient performance
Well,
of
a
duty.
rift is different because they have to declare one. But like if you're terminated under evaluation or any of those things, you cannot return to HISD. And that's the issue I am facing with teachers and them not understanding that you have to fight because this stuff, like even I spoke with the A-Leaf president. He said they're slowly but surely seeing things coming from HISD. And this is why I do these live streams because these people, this man is telling falsehoods to the public and to the center. Because I got kicked out of Paul Bentoncourt's office this past Friday when we were in San Marcos for the HOD because his chief of staff wanted to tell me lies that he got from Mike Miles. And you're not going to tell me lies when I work in HISD, sir. He told me that Mike Miles, I said, who invited him to come speak? Well, our office did. And I said, why? He said, because he turned around Houston. And I turned to him and I said, he did not. I said, we have evidence. those NAEP scores, they're not his. I said that from day one. I said, watch this man try to claim what our previous superintendent, who had a superintendent's license, who knew what he was doing, claimed the gains or anything that was great came out of NAEP. He People don't know NAEP is given every 2 years. Miles had only been there half of a year. So
Well,
what was he going to prove? He wasn't there.
the NAEP, a lot of people don't understand how that is done anyway. And to be honest, in Dallas, the NAEP scores never went up under Miles, and they haven't gone up since.
So
Um,
that's my point. These weren't his. A year and a half, we had already, and that's why I explained to people, and that's why he doesn't want me there, because I've been in HISD. We had the RISE program for those same schools that he was trying to turn into this NES mess. And I said, no, the RISE program stopped the hemorrhaging after COVID. We had Superintendent House. Superintendent House was there for a year and a half before Miles even got there. When he
yes.
got there, that's when the kids took the test. And I was like, he takes credit for everything except for the failure of this system. And but I have told the board, these board of managers, I said, wait for it. His data is coming, but guess what? He's going to leave before the real data comes out because it's coming. He's
Well,
going
he
to be gone.
put in Dallas because he got real arrogant about his bonus, and he wanted them to also extend his contract. I think he was on a 3 or 4 year contract with us. It's kind of hard to remember now. And halfway through it, he wanted them to extend it even further when he hadn't even finished the first contract. And he wanted more of a bonus, et cetera. And the board, we pressured the board to say no, that he didn't deserve it. And he got huff and he quit and went back to Colorado. And that's where we thought he would stay. We were horrible when we found out that Morath brought him back down here. But here's the thing, I'm willing to come down to Houston. I'll drive to Houston. And if HEA wants to hold a training session on how to write a rebuttal, Michelle, I know you know how to do it. That's not my point. But the thing is to have someone who dealt with him for all the time I did and after, because even though he left and Hinojosa came in and relaxed some of those things, that system is still in place in DISD until, it's still there. So I got really good at how to write rebuttals, how to help with filing grievances and all that. And I think sometimes when people see it come from outside and it matches what you've been saying, it gives more credence to what y'all are experiencing. It's kind of like, that's what people do when you're in a bad situation and you're talking about it. When you find out that someone else has gone through it too, you can relate, and it helps. It helps you focus your mind and focus your skill sets on this. And it's a shame that teachers have to do this, but if you think about it, lawyers, oilmen, doctors, police officers, soldiers, plumbers, everyone needs to take responsibility for their own careers. And teachers need to stop waiting for someone else to do it, even for quote unquote the union to do it. You need to realize that being in a union means you are the union. You are writing rebuttals. You are helping people with this. And then what I would do is if Michelle were my president, I'd say, Michelle, I got a bad evaluation. Let's talk about it. We talk about it on FaceTime, kind of thing, or I go into her office and then, okay, here's what I want to write. She would review it. She goes, nope, Diane, you're being snarky. You need to take that comment out and you need to redo that paragraph. Okay, so re-edit it, take the snark out, stick to the facts, ma'am, kind of thing. Okay, that looks good. Now send a blind copy to yourself, send a copy to your administrator, your principal, and blind copy your union. Okay, they should know you're talking to the union, but they don't like to see it obvious because then they'll start trying to pull this game of, well, if you're bringing in the union, we're going to bring in lawyers.
Well, that's the
You
only thing. That's the only issue that we that so here's the problem. Well, it has been solved. When the principals, since my case, I won my case, we really don't have that issue anymore. because they
Mm.
tend to back down when they see that I'm coming in. And my what's the word I'm looking for? What's a requirement for me, and this is what a lot of teachers in Houston don't understand. You have to be the first person to initiate contact with your principal. If you don't like something, that's not my campus.
Mhm.
And this is one thing that I'll never back give tell people not to do. I don't care if you don't like your principal. You need to give them professional courtesy, because at the end of the day, you still have to work at that campus.
That's
And
exactly right.
I keep telling people, I said, if you bring me in, what do you think that's going to happen when you haven't said not one word to the principal? I said, it looks bad from Jump Street. I said, so that's one of the things that I've been trying to tell teachers with Mike Miles. This is not another school system. You start from fighting day one. When they put something in writing, you put it in writing, because these scores, like you said, they're trying to downgrade them to justify the money that they claim they're going to pay out, which we know that they don't pay out well. And they don't tell the truth. Currently, HISD is broke. We have no money. We're broke. He has
Dallas is
bled us
in the hole
dry.
right now. Dallas is in the hole, and they're already cutting academic support downtown. They're not sure what they're going to get from the state. It made the Dallas Morning News today that they're short by over $80 million. So usually that's what the first thing they do is they either close a campus or they cut positions. So right now they're cutting downtown
Well,
at
how
City Hall.
about 500 million?
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, that's the thing. But you've got to get, it's been over a year now for you, almost 2 years. You've got to get people active. It is scary. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I kept my job and my career. I had a big target on my back because I was very active with NEA, but I was protected by being in the light. Ironically, because I was in the newspaper, I was at the school board meetings, I was online. Had they come after me, I could have justifiably claimed retaliation. And that was my protection. It's when you make a little pipsqueak of a noise at the very end that they'll crush you. But if you stand up, they have a tendency to back up, but you better damn well make sure that your ducks in a row, that your facts are correct, and that you stick to the facts. That is the only way you can win. And I won. Like I said, I lost the grievance in the class action suit that we had about TEI. That was our thing. But we went all the way to Austin. We went to multiple levels. We went to 3 levels of courts before we finally lost. But it did change how they did some of the evaluations. The other grievance that I won off the bat, and I kept it at the campus level because I was able to prove the mistake that my evaluator made. Principal said, "Sounds good to me, thank you," and he stamped it okay, and I got what I needed. So don't make an enemy of your boss, and also make anyone in that boss's office your ally. And again, get them in the union. If you can get any of your administrators to join NEA, TSTA through the HEA, they become our allies. And again, they have their eyes and ears are in the principal's meeting. Now, you talked about the meetings that y'all do quarterly. That's not the same thing. What they'll
Well,
tell you,
the meetings quarterly. So
go ahead.
HISD is a little different. So it gives us a chance to ask questions. So I, like you, I'm in the media. I have media contacts. That was one of the issues that they had in my hearing. The hearing, they wanted, so I got deemed a public figure. So anything now that happens with me, I have to be an agenda item like the principals. So that has been taken care of. HISD was fighting that. So what it does is when we're able to ask questions, when I talk to the media, it gives me, well, this is what the district said. So if we don't have an opportunity to ask questions, I have to go through the board of managers, like with this transfer debacle. That was a mess. They sent out, oh, eligible employees. I said, well, where's the eligibility criteria? There was none. So had I been able to say, hey, can you all fix this? I had to go through the board of managers to get that stuff done. And then them not understanding anything, talking about, well, it looks straight up to me. Of course it does. You don't teach. You know what I'm saying? That type of foolishness that we shouldn't have to go through when I have people asking me, well, how what is the cry, like, it wasn't any. It wasn't until the Friday before spring break that they actually sent out the eligibility criteria. You know why they sent it out? Because one of the board of managers sent them a request and told me that the chief of staff was working on the request. That's how it got sent out. But I told him, even that was in March, I said I wouldn't have to ask you all for stupid stuff like this if you all would make him honor the policy that you all put in place. This is not HISD's old policy. This is their policy. So when we have questions or in the media, it solidifies, hey, this is what they told us. But they're trying to not communicate with us, so we can't say. And then another thing, guess what? Our consultation meetings are recorded. So if they say, well, we didn't say that, we record all of them. I have the
I,
recordings from the other two. So it makes it easier when we have to speak to the media about things that are going on in the district right now with this situation. Like you said, when things messed up in Dallas, you knew that they were trying to change something before. Well, I filed my own personal grievance last week. So this week now we have the debacle with the evaluations and people getting these letters talking about they're putting a halt on file review. I said, well, that's interesting. It wasn't an issue until I got that email from the North Division saying that, hey, we're going to process your grievance. So I know that went far and wide because I have been warning them about using the norm reference test, which I wanted to know, what did you all use in Dallas for your growth measurement? Because this NWA map test is a mess.
well, they're now using maps as one of the tests. And that was just coming in my last 2 years. And they were using that for, because remember now, you're elementary, I was high school. But they were using the maps test for one. And again, the mistake that I felt they were making was they keep using tests that are not made to evaluate teachers. They're made to help guide teachers on this. If they wanted to use a norm reference test, they could have used the ITBS, the Iowa Skill Test of Basic Skill.
Yes,
They,
they could
they have,
have, which is a better test because
right,
it
right.
helps,
But
it shows achievement.
the ITBS is not considered a state mandated test and it's not aligned to the STAR. So they said they won't use it. Now, they use NAEP only if it looks good. Otherwise, they keep their mouth shut. They required under him that all seniors, juniors, and seniors take the SATs. So all of a sudden, you had kids who didn't care about going to college. They wanted to be an electrician. So they would sleep through the SAT or just bubble A all the way down. And so actually, our SAT scores dropped, ironically. So we couldn't see any growth that way. Now you have the TSIA in Texas 2.0. That's also the same thing happening. But back to what I was talking about, not the consultation meeting. I think you're misunderstanding me. When you have principals in the union, they have principal meetings with the superintendent that you cannot go to.
I know, but we have that communication
Right.
already.
I mean
So
is the principals hear and see the body language. So they may be saying in a recorded session, oh, you must make sure that they are doing it. But we found out so quietly off the record things that were coming down the pike that we were able then to turn around and give to our members to prepare them for what was coming. And, the saying I keep using, whenever they design a better mousetrap, we design a better mouse. And that's your mindset, has to be for 25, 26. They're building a better mousetrap. You have to build a better mouse. You have to get every single thing they want you to do. And unfortunately, you have to do it. Up here to get to the higher levels, it was called Distinguished Teacher Review, DTR. And I fought that personally and emotionally because I couldn't stand it. The way they wanted me to teach it did not match advanced placement world history. It's the second hardest advanced placement test after calculus. And I said, it doesn't match. Well, if you want DTR, you got to do it. So again, I taught my kids when they come in the room, we're going to play the game. So as far as the administrator knew, I was playing the game. He could then, or she could put on the evaluation. I was actually doing everything they wanted to see in the four quadrants, blah, blah, blah. And I finally got the points I needed so I could make DTR. And ironically, I was still teaching. It took me 8 years, 3 years with him, 5 years post, to get that damn DTR designation so I could get that $5,000 raise so that I could have a better retirement. Because all it is play the game. I kept fighting it because I felt it was betraying what I know as a teacher and I was betraying my kids.
Well,
But
we
I
get
also,
the points
I,
anyway.
yeah,
So here's the thing with DTR, and I was going to talk about that. So they did all these focus groups. Well, Houston, our teachers are different. We don't care about your designation. So don't care. And
I,
that's what came out of the focus group, that if you don't opt us in, we're not going to apply because we're not doing any extra work. And that's what I told them. I said, I don't care what you got. Because, first of all, because we're in a different time period, teachers in HISD and that are about to retire, we're already up there close to what you're offering. So what are you going to give us extra? Nothing. So my thing is, I don't need your DTR. You're going to give me the points anyway. So what am I applying for? Talking about, well, you're not going to get the stamp. And where is that going to take me, sir? I present for NCTM nationally. I present locally at, I have an email list of 4,000 teachers. I have collectively 20,000 followers as Michelle Williams. So what can you do for me, sir? Nothing. So
but
I'm
for most
like,
teachers, they don't have that. And in Dallas, the only way to advance past proficient to get to proficient two, you had to get DTR. That was the only way. And even then, after you get DTR, you had to wait another year to actually get the raise under the proficient two paradigm.
that's only,
So
that's not that, and that's what I'm glad you're saying that, because I'm trying to tell these people that was like, well, I'm need to get the money. I said, here's my thing. You're going to have to stay in gloom and doom for another year to even see it. That's what
that's right.
people don't understand. I said, all of it is a game. Houston is home for me, so I don't have a problem staying there. I'm not trying to go anywhere. This is home. I've been to
Well,
several districts.
for the ones that are within 5 years of retirement, they're not going to want to hear this, but this is how I looked at it at the end. Do the best you can to get as much money as you can. If it's teaching Saturday school, summer school, night tutoring, picking up, I was the academic decathlon co-sponsor, UIL academic co-sponsor, anything to make extra money that would go towards my TRS average. For the younger teachers, they are going to have to make a decision, and unfortunately, they're learning the hard way that this is not Olympic swimming. This is just throwing your butt in the deep end of the pool and letting you drown. This is not teaching the way it should be. So they can wait it out and hopefully get rid of him and get rid of that board of managers and try and get that district back on an even keel. It'll never go back to what it should be, but it did get better. I'll be honest. It did get better because we kept pushing to get it better. And I'll give an example really quickly in a second. But one year at that break point, and the break point for most teachers is 8 to 10 years. That's when they have to make a decision. Am I going to stay with this and make it a career and a retirement, or I'm going to move to another district, or am I going to just give up on education
Hold on,
altogether?
bro. They're saying you got an echo. Do you have some earbuds for your phone? Because they said there's an echo.
I can
And
do that. Well, I can't. Hang on. I've got to reach in my purse.
hold on.
Let's see.
So while you do that, I'm going to.
You're going to see my ceiling for a second.
That's okay. I'm about to scoop. All right. So while she's doing that, I hear you on the echo. I'm going to do my shameless plug. I have 149 people on here. If you know a teacher, If you're a teacher in another school district, uh, tell them about joining TSTA, www.mytsta.org. Um, we are the Texas State Teachers Association has locals all across Texas. We are building our membership. We're building it so that we can fight. And what I want you all to know, being a part of a union membership, it helps you to connect with other people just like Diane. Let me
Okay, am I good? I can't hear you now.
There I am. Just like
Okay.
Diane. I met her by being a union member. So I put the link in the chat. If you know somebody, tag somebody, send them the link, say, hey, because what I do know, you need some guidance. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've had 3 teachers from HISD to contact me trying to get advice. And no, these are not members. I have people that are contacting my members to get a hold of me. You can't have a wreck and get the insurance. I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. If you want
That
access to me, I had a teacher text me, well, do I have to be a member to get advice from you? Absolutely, because that's what my members pay for. And I guarantee you, I have not steered anyone wrong. If you follow what I tell you to do, and that's the key word, if you follow, and if you start early, I have a first year teacher at one of these NES schools. I'm telling you. And people talking about, well, you can't fight at NES school. Well, she did. And guess where she is? Still in her classroom. So it
yes.
can be done. But you have to want to protect your career, and fighting for what you want in your career. Like Diane said, you are the protector of your career and that certification that either you're working towards or you paid dearly for, because some of y'all didn't pass that test on the first try. I'm telling you, I know several teachers that didn't. But become a member of TSTA. If you're an HISD, then you'll have access to me, because I'm not giving out information to just anybody. My members message me. And at the end of the day, you have to be a member. So back to what we were talking about, DTR.
Yeah, okay. So can y'all hear me okay now?
Yes,
Okay, sorry about that earlier. I don't know. I didn't hear an echo.
I didn't either.
Um, the DTR, let just interrupt me if they say they're still hearing it.
Okay.
Okay. So the DTR, the Distinguished Teacher Review, is multifaceted. It's not just what you're doing in the classroom or what your testing materials look like. It's also, are you instructing other teachers? Are you being a campus leader among the teachers, etc.? Are you learning things past, the required 21 hours a year from the state, etc., for your licensing, for your certification? So one of the things I did, do you know, or does anyone, they can, because I can't see your chat box, so
Okay.
you can see it. Does anyone know if y'all have a World Affairs Council down in Houston? Because if
I have one. My vice president is on here. She would know that because she teaches AP African American history,
there
and
you
she.
go. Because if you have the world, as an example, again, I'm social studies. If you have a World Affairs Council, they'll have summer training, and you can actually, in Dallas, we did a thing where we brought someone from our English department, from our math department, from our science department, from social studies, and learned all this stuff about, well, before the new administration came in, about the United Nations and the 17 factors of helping out, a country, et cetera, and how you can end up teaching this together. And we had elementary teachers there as well, so that when you're teaching about averages, when you're teaching about percentages, when you're looking at et cetera, et cetera. So if you have a World Affairs Council, see if they're offering some kind of multi-day training. They also have great food. You look at the National Archives, see if they have anything at any of your museums, anything that you can get as a teacher trained on, and then you ask for additional stuff to bring back, then you turn around, and principals love this. Principal Williams, I went to the World Affairs Council. I would love to present for 15 minutes what I learned to my social studies team for something that we could do, or the whole of us, if we could have 30 minutes for the whole team to present to the whole faculty to help motivate. Well, that goes on the DTR application. So what you have to do is, just like you have to look at your review of your evaluations, you have to look at what is the DTR asking you to do to make you the best of the best. And then you have to find things that will help you fill in that things. Because the first time I looked at filling it out, it said, so what did you do? You know, basically it was saying, what did you do as a leader on your campus? Well, I'm a union member and I help people with grievances and okay, what else? Well, I help mentor one new what else? So you want to load up. I mean, and to be honest, that's who deserves to get a DTR designation, is someone that does go beyond just teaching in the classroom every day, Monday through Friday. So if you help each other, if you share information, like you have your HEA Facebook page, I don't know what else y'all have, but if you have the HEA Facebook page and you find out that the World Affairs Council of Houston is offering this training, but they only have 40 spots, beat everyone to the punch and get in there before Katy ISD and Fort Bend gets. I don't know what other you've got Rice University, U of H, AP Summer Institutes, etc. Anything you can do, getting your kids to volunteer to do things, you know, whatever you can do to make you look better on paper, document it. And again, I can't stress this enough, and Michelle knows that I've said this to her too. You put everything on print. Buy yourself a new printer full of ink, and you print out every email and every document and every license and certification and award that you get. Because when they say, well, you didn't really get the points, I can bring them something this thick and go, what do you mean? Show me where I was lacking. And that's how you do it. They build a better mousetrap. You need to be a better mouse to beat that trap. So that's the DTR, and that's how I got it. And the reason why I resigned last year, partially was health issue, but I was coming up for renewal on DTR, and I was like, I don't have the energy to go through all that again and do all those things and do all that process. And I was like, you know what? Because DTR is good for 3 years and DISD. I'm done. And so after 25 years, I figured that was a good number, and I retired. I bought 4 years extra of military time. 403B, side issue here, 403Bs are not the best investment. They charge a lot of fees on those things. Be careful with that. But I used it like a savings account, and I'm totally open and honest. I had saved up $36,000 in it. And I was able to buy 4 years of military service with TRS. So even though I retired after 25 years, I am being paid as if I had 29 years of service. So if you're former military, um, do it. I can't tell you enough on that. And if you don't have a 403B, go ahead and at least get one. You can always convert it to a mutual fund later, or, you know, whatever, to buy years. Also, to look at Michelle should back me up on this, with your state days and your local days. You have to look at your career at the beginning of the year, and you have to sit there on your patio with a cup of coffee and think, okay, I need to be healthy. I need to do things. Things happen. Do I want to use up my local days, or do I want to use up my state days? Because when you retire, you can cash in state days and help use that towards buying an extra year. Or do you want to move to another district? So Michelle's had enough of Houston. She's out of there. She's going to go work in Deer Park. She should use up her local days and keep her state days so she can move. And she'll stay with TSTA. She'll stay in the union. She's just moving to another local, or, you know, statewide. So you really have to, guys, I can't tell you this enough. You have to take responsibility for your own career. The union cannot save you alone, and y'all, the union cannot survive without y'all. Union means to be united. Look at union history teacher here. Rights came after union formation, after union actions, after union activities. The state of Texas will never let you strike, will never let you collectively bargain until you get a new regime in Austin, until you vote out all those people. So I get so sick of seeing people online saying, we don't have unions in Texas because we can't strike. Yes, we have unions. We can't strike because too many union members, too many people don't join the union and they don't vote like they're in a union because they live in the suburbs or they go to a church that wants them to vote a certain way. Guys, oil men do not vote for environmental ones. Lawyers do not vote for tort reform. Okay? Doctors don't vote for, you've got to start voting like a teacher. You've got to vote because we are one of the few professions where, again, with the exception of the Houston Board of Managers, you get to vote in your bosses. Okay? Eventually, y'all will get rid of them, but you get to vote in the legislature and the governor. Look what they're doing to education and look what they're trying to do to Houston right now. Okay. And that's a separate issue, but they are afraid of y'all in Harris County. They are afraid of Harris County. And so if they can break y'all in the school district, and this is the other thing Michelle and I talked about, I think a year ago, I want you to envision you're in Galveston at Stewart Beach and you see someone drowning and you see a pleasure boat pull up next to them and they throw them one of those life rings and yet the person drowns and you go, well, they tried to save them but they drowned anyway. Well, what you didn't know is that life ring was made of concrete. And that's how Mike Miles rules. He makes it look like he's trying to save the district, but he's not. They're trying to show what they're doing is they're trying to make it look like they've given everything to the people of Harris County and Houston, Texas. They're doing the best that they can, and they failed. The unions failed. The teachers are horrible. The kids are awful. We need vouchers. We need to take over the district. We'll make it better. It's still, the unions are awful. The kids are horrible. The teachers are awful. We need vouchers. So they're not there for your health and they don't give a damn about the kids. I want to tell you that right now. They do not care about the kids. What they care about is that budget. Where are the textbooks? Where are the computers? Where all of that money goes. Okay. I don't think it's in Houston. Did y'all get the Bluebonnet curriculum?
Absolutely not.
Okay, neither did Dallas. But some of the other districts are trying to fight it off. So notice what they did. They brought in religion into lessons and then bribed districts with $60 per kid in additional funding to get it. They don't care. So once you realize that if this is the profession you want to be a part of, you've got to invest time and effort. And I know you have to cook dinner. I know y'all have kids or aging parents or health issues or whatever. Take care of yourself, take care of your family first. But you've got to take care of your own career and the union will help you. And again, Michelle, I'll make the offer. Whenever you want me to come down there, because I'm retired now, I can come down there on a Saturday and you and I can lead a teams, help out and teach people and do that. Teach people how to fill out a rebuttal situation, how to um, up their game, how to do better. It doesn't have to be adversarial, but it's going to feel that way. But the thing is, I used to tell my principals, I'm going to make you a better principal because I'm going to show you how to do it. And you're going to make me a better teacher. At the end, my last meeting as a union rep in Dallas ISD, the principal was a member of NEA. The assistant principal in the meeting was a member of NEA. I was the NEA rep, and the teacher who was in trouble was also a member of NEA-Dallas. All four of us in the room belonged to NEA-Dallas. And they looked at me and they went, now what do we do? And I said, we solved the problem. She won't have to file a grievance and you will have to write her up because she did do something wrong. She violated a policy for the district. I said, but you're going to write her up, but it's not going to be a punitive write up. It's going to be an advisory. Michelle, you should not, the policy is this. Instead, you did that. Please, from now on, please do not do that. Come to us if you have any questions about the policy. Have a nice day. That's how you play the game.
Well,
That's how you do it.
we do have some principals that are NEA members. I think there's an uptick. As a matter of fact, one of the principals that was terminated and put on administrative leave, and this is a shameless plug for you principals that watch my, I know y'all watch my feed. I know it because y'all know too much. So, for the
Get in
principals
there.
that are watching this, I want you all to know her 30th day was the day before they put her on administrative leave. And she contacted me. I sent her the link to TSTA. And guess what? She got a representative. She
That's
paid
it.
her
Bec-
dues.
and here's the thing, Michelle, you and I know this. Okay. So Michelle, you're the principal. You're a member of NEA Dallas. Sorry, HEA. I'm a teacher and I'm in trouble, or you gave me a bad evaluation, whatever. And I want to file a grievance because that's the only way to actually get it done. The union will represent me because the district will represent you because you were doing your official job. There is absolutely no conflict. AFT likes to say, oh, there's a conflict. No, there's no conflict. But if Michelle, the principal, has a bad evaluation before, do y'all have executive directors? Is that what they call them? What do you call their bosses? I can't hear you.
Oh, that's what they are.
Yeah, okay. Well, executive directors, so Michelle's in trouble. We represent her. That's how that's how the game is played. But the thing is, when I was in that meeting with 4 people all in the union, we solved the problem. There was no animosity. And I'll be honest, the teacher threw me under the bus because I had violated the same policy. And she said, well, I saw Diane do it, so I did it. And I was like, thanks. you know, but I still represented her and everything was fine. It was just, we took shortcuts to do something. It wasn't mad, it wasn't a bad thing, but we just took some shortcuts and we got caught. And my thing is, when you have principals in the union and assistant principals in the union, like I said, they're in the meetings that Michelle cannot get into, that the teachers are not privy to, and they will hear and know things. And because they're in the union, they can just quietly let Michelle know, by the way, this is coming down the pike. And as long as she doesn't blow their cover, then y'all would have an advance notice. Now, I'm sure people that work for miles are hearing this. Well, too bad. I don't really care. Because we had people working downtown, our central staff. Y'all call it, what do y'all call it? Something May? It's a
Hattie Mae.
woman's name. Hattie May. Hattie May. Um, Ours was called 3,700. Now it's 9,400. They moved. But at 3,700, I had people working in positions up until they get to really high ranking, they can be in the union. I had sources all over that building because they were in the union, and they would let me know that a riff is coming, or this is going to happen, or this is, whatever, or these are going to be some of the changes next year, but they haven't told the school board yet, blah, blah, blah. Man, I had people all over. I had sources all over the place. And that's what you want, because you've got to look out for us, because the only way to get these kids the best education they can have is to have the best teachers. And that means a teacher who is qualified and supported and calm. The stress that y'all are under is ridiculous. And we went through that. The uncertainty. See, the second year, I guess they can put it in the chat, Michelle, and you can tell me. First year, y'all were like deer in the headlights. I could tell by reading online. Y'all were in shock. But it was only in some of the places. Now it's spread, and now some others are adjusting to the shock, and others are just getting into that deer in the headlights. So it's going to take one more year, if God help you, if he's still there. But this is how you do it. Over the summer, you get yourself up to speed. And we've got 176 people watching this right now. If you had twice that. If everyone brought 2 people in, I'll do the math real quick. That's 350 plus that, be 500 people. If you could get 500 people to show up to a training session, we could rent a ballroom at a hotel. I'm sure TSTA could help pay for it. I'll put them on the line for that. If we could get y'all to show up for a good training this summer, and imagine if 500 teachers from all of, there's at least someone in that group for every campus, and y'all go back in the fall. Y'all loaded for bear.
But
Y'all
here's
ready.
the issue we have in Houston, and I'm gonna mute your mic for the echo. Here's what we have in Houston, and the problem is that the apathy that Houston ISD teachers have, it is deafening because like just today I had to, like, these teachers think I'm being abrasive or abusive, and I'm not being abusive. Like I said, you all have excuses as to why you can't do anything. Well, tell me, what can you do? Nobody ever has anything for that. They do, a lot of them don't do anything, and they say, well, I'm tired. I was like, are you kidding me? They forget I'm an employee too. The same time you beating that traffic on 45 or wherever you're from, going to or from, I'm there too. You, and that's what I can't, I take away the excuses, because you can't tell me that you're tired. I'm tired too. And I am at meetings sometimes until 11 o'clock. I was at Hattie Mae. On my spring break, I was in Austin and waited 24 hours to speak to the House Public Education Committee. But when we ask them to show up for things, all I get is excuses. That is all I get. But yet they want me to spend my time giving them free information. And I told them this is not what that is. And then they get irritated. Well, she won't help nobody. Absolutely. You're not a member. Become a member. So when I would love to have you come, but I can't depend on the teachers in Houston ISD to show up because they have so many excuses. But and here's my issue, they allow the principals on their campus to treat them like slaves and browbeat them and talk about them and score them low, but you won't show up to fight for your own career and to make it easier for you, if you're leaving, to transition from this place to go somewhere else. But they won't show up for that. They have every excuse as to why they do absolutely nothing. And it's not just HEA, it's HFT too. They have the same problem with their teachers. But the apathy, I'm going to be honest with you, was there before this takeover. It just has been illuminated since, and they won't do anything. Even the first year teachers do nothing. They don't even come to find out the information. You know when they want information from me? When their behind is in a sling. And their principal is about, no, it's too late then. If the first time they put something in writing, no, when you have an opportunity to find out what to do and what not to do to protect yourself, you show up for that. So when it does happen, you can defend yourself. But we can't get the teachers to do that. And then some of the teachers talking about striking. I said, what? Strike? You won't even wear a union t-shirt to school. So no, you're not ready for anything. First, defend yourself. Go sit at a board meeting. We can't get them to show up for board meetings. They won't even sit in the crowd. And I was like, I have set the example for you all. And then I guess they think I'm some type of superhuman, and I'm not. I am a teacher that got thrown into this mess. Was I used to fighting? Yes, my muscle has been exercised every year since I've been in HISD. But I'm not. I'm a regular teacher who teaches the kids that you have the same issues that you're having are the issues that I'm dealing with. I just made the decision to fight and not allow them to browbeat me like they raking some of you all over the coals. I am not any different. I don't understand why this is an issue. Like I told the poster today, I said, you all benefit from everything that I do. And the least you can do to repay me is to show yourself up. They don't even do that. And then they wonder why I'm irritated when they ask me questions because y'all don't do nothing. You do absolutely nothing. It's very few teachers that do things in HISD to push this regime, hold them accountable, hold their principals accountable. They do absolutely nothing. And I honestly, next year is my last year as union president. I am term limited. And you know what? I hate to say this, I am happy because I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of hearing excuses. I don't have any children in public school. My son is 31 years old. I'm fighting for you all with your working uteruses. That's who I'm fighting for, your children. I don't have any kids in this system. And if need be, I'll put my grandson in private school. So please fight. If you don't want to fight for yourself, fight for the kids that you birth and you take care of. But they don't even want to do that. And that's my
Well,
irritation. We got retired teachers coming out, yourself, you're retired, you're still fighting. But the people who are actually having kids in here, they don't do anything. Some of the parents on the west side are doing anything. That north and northeast, they do nothing.
well,
And we shouldn't have to show up to deal with this.
what the thing is, I always tell because they need to hear that you're human and that you're frustrated too. But at the same time, with you being term limited, you need to start putting your vice presidents forward. They need to start building up their presence, their names. People need to step up. And again, I'm going to be very blunt because Michelle knows me. I'm very blunt. I'm 64 years old, and I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. I'm white. you know, I'm a white woman born and raised in Texas. And I remember the civil rights movement, from a different perspective than so many others who are a minority. But I remember, like John Lewis would say, good trouble, and that you need allies in every single fight that you have. So if you can't help me, at least get out of the way. So I grew up that it was my obligation to help people that don't have the access that I might have because I'm a white person, or I'm a woman and I'm fighting to get access that men automatically had, et cetera. We all had our burdens, we all have our fights, but we all had to work together, and you cannot give up yet. Okay. I was taught by the civil rights movement that if people can literally walk to and from work in the cold and the rain and the heat for 13 months in Montgomery, I can go to a school board meeting. Seriously, because when I get discouraged, I just think back to my childhood and I think about the um, civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, gay rights movement. People put up with a hell of a lot more than I did. And I owe it to them. I'll be honest, I owe it to them to do my best to help on this. And we've got to get people motivated, because once your rights are taken away, it's too late. Once your job is lost, it's too late. And people have got to figure that out. So the only way to do it is to ask everyone to do this much, not this much, just do this much. Come to one meeting, come to one board meeting. Don't even sign up to speak. Just show up to the meeting and watch how the sausage is made. Learn how to write a rebuttal. Teach 3 other people how to do it. If she invites me down there for a meeting, show up to that and we'll go through training together on this. So that's how you get it done. It's not going to be overnight. And Michelle, it's just like church. 90% that go don't do a damn thing either to help the minister or the priest. I'm Catholic. They don't do anything either. 10% do the work of everybody else. That's just the way it is. Okay. You even see it on campuses. There are teachers who bust their butts and others that just fly right in. So
I'll take
it,
10%. Right now, we're at about 1%. If we had 10% of teachers in HISD, You know what that'd be? 1,000
Hmm.
people. I would
There you go.
take that. But I can't
Well,
get 1%. And that's
well,
my frustration with these people. And then they have nerve enough to tell me, well, you can't tell. And I can, because I do the work. And I
well,
say,
we've
and I'm up at 3 a.m. every day.
Well, we're at 196 people. Hello, everyone. So the challenge is, of these 196, maybe not everyone is a HISD employee, but if everyone would be an HISD, I mean, excuse me, HEA member, because they're HISD employees, that helps, because the more membership you have, the more they'll listen to Michelle. If Michelle only has 40 people behind her, that's one thing. If she's got 400, that's another. If she has 1,200, that's even more. There is power in strength in numbers. There is power and strength in sharing the burden, and there's all the cliches, and I'm down to 28% on my phone here. But the thing is, in summary from me, is I'm willing to come down to Houston to help, but y'all have got to be willing to do the work too. And you cannot have a president do it. You can't have one officer. Her board and her vice presidents need to be working on this. If you want to step up, be a rep on your campus. Um, if you're an administrator, join the union. We don't expect the principals to ever speak at a board meeting. We know that that's a bad spot to put them in, so we don't ever expect them to do that. But again, there are eyes and ears, and we also found that people who are principals in the union very rarely have grievances filed against them. So that makes them look better in their evaluations. But you've got to help Michelle, and you've got to help yourselves, and you're helping the students. It always comes back to the students. Who is going to be there for them if it becomes a rotating thing? The average number of years of experience in Dallas dropped severely because so many retiree teachers left or took retirement under Miles. You might want to even do a check on that for an open records request. And it's just, you want people in the classroom who are going to stay, and that is intestinal fortitude. That's your guts. So I'm trying to be as positive as I can, guys, but it's not an easy thing. And again, I just go back to my childhood in the 60s. I watched people on TV struggle for a hell of a lot less than what y'all have to worry about. I mean, a lot more than what y'all worry about, and they had to put up with more than that. So, it's kind of like education was the first area of civil rights that was really pushed, because the civil rights workers got it, that education was the key to everything else. And if once you figure that out, that if you are the front line, you are the teacher, then that's how it's going to work. And the kids of Houston depend on you. Okay, you get a paycheck, but the kids of Texas, Houston, depend on you, because I guarantee you, Miles will come and go. Marath will come and go. Board of managers will come and go. My cat will come and go. But the I knew he was coming. But you are the teachers. You're the professionals. Act like it. And professionals join professional associations, and they usually don't have cats on camera. But the thing is, you've really got to get active, guys. And again, writing a letter to the editor, just showing up for a board meeting, learning how to write a rebuttal, learning how to help others with their lesson plans, learn how to help each other. And that's the thing. And Michelle has carried the burden too long on her shoulders, and she has to learn. I'm going to hold her accountable. She has got to learn how to delegate to her vice presidents and her people in her union. And y'all need to step up, and she needs to share and divide. That's the only way y'all can do it. But I am down to 24% now on my phone. So how
So how
much
much
longer are
longer
we
are
good?
we? That's it. So, and I'm going to say this, if you give me some people to work with, I would happily delegate to them, because next year I have already sent out the email and I have told them that next year is my last year. So, and I'm saying this to HEA members, if you like having another union outside of HFT, then somebody's going to have to step up, or you're going to lose the local. My vice president is retiring. So,
Mhm.
I didn't create this local, was not created for me to carry it. I don't need it. because I was defending myself long time ago. All I need is legal representation. That's really it. And what you all don't understand, if you go through a hearing like I went through, the Chronicle was at my hearing for 2 days. I said I had to build my case for my attorney to present. Some of you all can't do that because you
But
don't
you can
have the,
learn, but they can
yeah,
learn.
you
And
can
that,
learn, but y'all, you won't follow what I ask you to do. If you contact me, I'm gonna say you need to write a rebuttal, file a grievance. A lot of you all don't want to do that. So what are you going to fight with? At the end of the day, I will not be president in another year. Who is going to fill my shoes? Because I'm telling you, you all can sit back. And I tell people all the time, and that's why I don't really criticize principals, because I know what it means to be in leadership. Some of you all hadn't led a lemonade stand. So at the end of the day, it's easy to sit and criticize me, criticize your principals, criticize whoever is speaking out when you're not doing anything. And Diane said it best. You all have to get active. You have to. And I've told the parents in Houston ISD that I'm not going to be here forever. I have goals and aspirations myself. I was a single parent just like you all, raising a child. My son is 31 years old. I raised him as a single parent. I hear you. But at the end of the day, you still have a responsibility to your profession and to this country and to these children and your own children. My fight is my grandson, but at the end of the day, I know that I can pull him out. But you all
but we
need,
don't want you to. We don't want you to.
exact, you
That's
don't
the
want me
thing.
to, but if it keeps going this way, I'm not going to sacrifice his education to this public school system. I'm not. But we
Well, we'll
need, you
fight it.
gotta,
We'll fight it. We'll fight
you
it. Let's
got
be
to,
positive.
because
Let's end on
I'm
a
on the
positive
verge
note.
and I never thought that I would be there. You all need to fight for your children. A lot of you all have small kids. People are not going to keep showing up, and the people that are fighting are the people. I'm 51 years old. I know I don't look like it, but shoot, I'm half a century plus one. So, like, we are the older people that are fighting, and it's not it we're not going to always be here. So if you want to become a member, please become a member. If you're in Dallas, any other school district, this is not just for Houston ISD teachers, this is for the state of Texas teachers. Because like when we went to um Austin, and it's the last thing I'm going to say, they were locking their doors because we were at the Capitol. What does that tell you about the people in Austin? They do not like to see us. Also, Kevin Jackson is in the comment section. He's the local president for Beaumont. Shameless plug. Beaumont ISD. If you want to be a member, you're in Beaumont, Port Arthur, mytsta.org. So, but they are not. The representative, Lauren Simmons, she said they are scared of the union. You know why they're afraid of us? She said because there's nothing that they can offer us to make us stand down. They can't buy us. What are you going to give us? Because what we want is a better public school system. And they know they can't give us money to shut us up, because what are you going to give us? So, thank you, Diane, for always being a willing guest. If I can get the people of Houston ISD to show up, I will invite you down to Houston, but it's up to
Hmm.
them to show up and be
I'm
in
like a
attendance.
stand-up comedian. So I'm telling you, you'll have fun with me because I am. It's with Birdie. My nickname's Birdie. With Birdie, you get dinner and a show. So I'm telling you, it is worth it to do this. Guys, you will, even Michelle will feel reinvigorated if you have me come down there. um, I guarantee you, you will feel so much better because Michelle knows this, because she knows her talent and her ability. Once you feel trained on how to deal with this stuff, you're empowered. Once you're empowered, they can't scare you anymore. Okay. And that's what we're trying to tell you. So it behooves all of you to just do something. Just do something. Contact Michelle. Y'all found this broadcast tonight somehow. I don't know if she's going to stay online when I disconnect, but contact her, get a hold of her, volunteer just to come to a meeting, volunteer, find out if you're saying, I want to come to a meeting with Diane and Michelle. Okay, then let's do it. Put your money where your mouth is. Take a Saturday and let's do this. We can start at 9 and finish by 1. I guarantee you we can have some fun. And then I'll go hit the beach, uh, with my little glow in the dark skin here. So I'm so white, I'm pink. But the thing is, I'm trying to make it love it because it is very discouraging. It can be very sad and stressful. We have to change that conversation. Empowerment gives you faith, faith gives you empowerment. Okay. Anything else?
That's it. And thank you. Thank you for let me go back to my single while she hops off. So that is it in a nutshell. If you want to watch this segment or this interview with me and Diane Birdwell, you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Houston Education Association. Share it with someone, like and subscribe to our channel so that we can grow and get the information out. Half the battle is information. People still do not know what's going on in Houston ISD. Houston ISD needs to continue to sound the alarm. That's why you see us everywhere. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on X Twitter, we're on Blue Sky, we're on YouTube. The clips that we upload are documentation of what's going on in Houston ISD. And as they try to roll out this false narrative about what's going on in HISD, there's nothing that they can say because we can prove it. You share the link. Here's what is going on in Houston ISD. Just like when Paul Bencourt's chief of staff asked us to leave because I wouldn't let him mansplain to me about what's happening in HISD, and he hadn't worked a day in HISD, not one day. So, what we are not going to allow people to do, as we have not allowed this appointed superintendent to do, is to hijack the narrative about what Houston ISD, what's taking place, what teachers are going through, what parents are going through. And thanks to the parent that showed up and told Miles where he needs to go. I appreciate it because those are the things that we need. We need courageous acts, and somebody's going to have to be the first. I was the first. If you all think for 1 second that I decided to go up against HISD, that wasn't me. I just happened to get that because I spoke out. And Diane is correct. What you all don't know is I won my grievance against HISD as well as my hearing. So there are things that are in place. What you all don't know is that HISD, I filed a complaint with TEA because they don't follow due process. I just filed another one with TEA. I filed a grievance. Those are the things that are happening behind closed doors. You cannot be scared because what is happening in HISD is happening in the US. So you're going to fight one way or the other. You're going to have to fight. So, again, if you want to become a member, www.mytstar. Thank you for the 200 people that are watching right now. Share this with a teacher, tag a teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and I'll see you all in my next live stream. Bye-bye.